ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगन रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we will continue to read from the fourth chapter of second canto. So this is seventh sloka onwards. Yata gopa yati vibhor यथा संयच्छते पुनः यां यां शक्तिमुपाश्रित्य पुरुषक्तिस्परः पुमान् आत्मानं क्रीडयन् क्रीडन् करोति विकरोति च. Translation: Kindly describe how the Supreme Lord, who is all powerful, engages his different energies and different expansions in maintaining and again winding up the phenomenal world in the sporting spirit of a player. So it's a very nice this one. The question Parikshit Maharaj is putting is that please explain how does the Lord create this world, and he is describing it. It's just like a play for him, sporting spirit. So that is what is called as Leela. Leela means to it's a play. No, Leela means it is not something that is an assigned task. Leela means something that is, somebody does it, when he is completely satisfied and then he is completely free to do and no push from any place, and he is just doing it just for his enjoyment. So that is this one. No, it's the Lord's all activities are called as Leela. No, that is why. So we are not doing things because it is our karma, but then the Lord is doing things because it is his Leela. Right? Purport: In the Katha Upanishad, the Supreme Lord is described as the chief eternal beings amongst all other eternal individual beings. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. And the one Supreme Lord who maintains innumerable other living beings, Eko Bahunam Yovidadati Kaman. So all living entities, both in the conditioned state and in the liberated state, are maintained by the Almighty Supreme Lord. Such maintenance is affected by the Lord through his different expansions of self and three principal energies, namely internal, external, and marginal energies. So here it talks about both his personal expansions, which is called Swaamsha, and then the energies. Lord has three energies, namely internal energy, that is Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti is external, and then marginal energies are the living entities. So everything is done through his various expansions, and either his personal expansions or his separated expansions, right? So we marginal energies are called as the separated expansions, vibhinna amsha. Okay, so then the living entities are his marginal energies, and some of them, in the confidence of the Lord, are entrusted with the work of creation, also as are Brahma, Marichi, etc. And the acts of creation are inspired by the Lord unto them. Tene Brahma Hrida. So this acts of creation, though it is like sometimes it is mentioned that in the prison, if there is if there are prisoners, there are some prisoners are given some responsible task in the prison, right? So they can actually do some responsible task. So in the same way, here in the prison house, some good living entities are chosen to do the creation work, and then to also lead various departments in this universe, right? So that kind of people are Brahma, Marichi, Manu, and all these personalities are like that. And the acts of creation are inspired by the Lord unto them, Tene Brahmahuda. The material energy, Maya, is also impregnated with the jivas or conditioned souls. So the material nature, the Mahat Tattva in sum total, so that has been invested or impregnated with the living entities. No, the Lord impregnates the material nature with the living entities, and few living entities, they are very pure, no, or they are like more pure than the other living entities. So they are given charge of running the universal government, right? The unconditioned material potency acts in the spiritual kingdom, and the Lord, by his different plenary expansions, maintains them in different transcendental relations displayed in the spiritual sky. So this unconditioned marginal potency, that means pure, the pure devotees of the Lord, the pure souls. No, marginal potency means like we living entities. So they are in the spiritual world. They are in the spiritual kingdom with the Lord, and they are with various this one rasas. No, they have the Dashya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, like that. No, different kinds of rasas they have. They exchange with the Lord, and they are very nicely situated in the transcendental realm, in the spiritual sky, in the Vaikuntha planets, right? So the one supreme personality of Godhead manifests himself in many, Bahushyam, and thus all diversities are in him, and he is in all diversities, although he is nevertheless different from all of them. So this is a very important point to be understood. This is where our whole philosophy stands. This is the prime aspect of our Achintya Veda philosophy. So here, Eko Bahushyam, that is there. So the one supreme personality of Godhead, he has manifested himself in many. What is that many? This is his own personal expansions as the Narayana forms, and then his three different energies, internal, external, and marginal. All these energies are what? It is all expansions of the Supreme Lord himself, right? So that is why it is mentioned as Swa Amsha, Vibhinna Amsha, and then the energy. Swa Mayaya. Swa Mayaya means one's own energy. The Lord's energy is called as his own energy. We are all his energy, and the material nature is energy. So everything is, in one sense, has expanded from the Supreme Lord. But here it is also added here, although he is nevertheless different from them, right? So the general example that we always give is that if fire is there, accompanied with that there is heat and light. Those are heat and light are the energies of the fire. So now we cannot say wherever heat is there, wherever light is there, that is fire. So heat and light is qualities of the fire. Okay, and then we cannot describe a fire without heat and light. That is also not possible. So heat and light is almost synonymous with the fire, but then it is different from the fire. So in the same way, we, the living entities, the material nature, and all the energies are almost synonymous with the Lord. We cannot describe the Lord without all these entities. The Lord is complete with all these things. So that is when the Lord is complete, right? So in the same way, here also we see that the one Supreme Lord, he has expanded into many, many varieties of diversities, but still he is different from all of them, right? So that is the inconceivable mystic power of the Lord. And as such, everything is simultaneously one with and different from him, by his inconceivable potency. Achinta Veda Veda Tattva. Okay, text 8. Nunam Bhagavato Brahman Harer Adbhuta Karmanah Durvibhabhyam Iva Bhati Kavibhischapi Cheshtitam. O learned Brahmana, the transcendental activities of the Lord are all wonderful, and they appear inconceivable because even great endeavors by many learned scholars have still proved insufficient for understanding them. Right. So this is a point that many personalities, many great souls have tried to understand the Lord, and then it is also mentioned that what is that? Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavam Mam Prapadyate. So after many lifetimes, a seeker, a sincere seeker may get to understand about the Lord. So that's, anyway, that is a Jnana Marg. But then, the comparison here is a very important thing. Even we often quote that sloka of Dhruva Maharaj, right? Sthana bilashish tapasistitoham tvam praptavan Deva Munindra Guhyam. So Deva Munindra Guhyam means even for great personalities, the Lord is a secret. No, he's a very, very secretive kind of a person. So means like his understanding him is such a difficult thing, right? So even by great endeavors, many people, many learned scholars still, no, they couldn't able to understand Krishna properly. Okay, so purport: the acts of Supreme Lord in the creation of just this one universe appears inconceivably wonderful, and there are innumerable universes, and all of them aggregated together are known as the created material world. And this part of his creation is only a fractional portion of the complete creation. The material world stands as one part, ekamshayana sthito jagat. No, there is ekapada vibhuti and tripada vibhuti. So ekapada vibhuti is the material creation, and then tripada vibhuti, or the three portions of the creation, is the spiritual creation. No, that is just to say the spiritual creation is much, much more bigger. This is just a comparison, but then the material world is like, material creation is very, very small in comparison to the spiritual planets, right? So here we see that it is just a no, even in this material sky, our own planet or our own universe in itself is a very, very small fractional entity. No, it doesn't have much of significance in comparison to the entire material creation. No, our whole what is it, Brahmanda is very small, right? So a portion, a glimpse of it is shown in the Krishna Lila. So when Lord Brahma comes to meet like Lord Krishna in Dwaraka, so he was made to wait, and then no, he sent a word and said that, you tell the Lord that Brahma has come. And the Lord replied back saying that, which Brahma? So and then Brahma got no, bewildered, like, no, एक universe में एक ही Brahma होता है, like, no, ये क्या question होता है? So means what is this question that, like, which Brahma? So in one universe there is only one Brahma. So then anyways, he told that, okay, no, I am the four-headed Brahma, I have come. So then when Brahma was called inside, Lord was already in meeting with so many Brahmas, and each one had multiple heads, some having 10 heads, 15, 20, 30, like that. It was like, some having hundreds of heads also. And it is mentioned, according to the size of the universe and according to the complexities which are there in the universe, Brahma has multiple heads, right? So our Brahma is the smallest of all the Brahmas. It was like that. He was feeling very, very small in the presence of so many other Brahmas. And then they're all worshipping the Supreme Lord, Krishna. So in this way we can see that we are very, very insignificant in the whole creation. Our whole universe itself is so insignificant, and in that we are so insignificant. We are such a small entity, right? So in the whole creation, so we are very, very small, right? Supposing that material world is a display of one part of its energy, the remaining three parts consist of Vaikuntha Jagat, or spiritual world, described in Bhagavad Gita as Mad Dhamma or Sanatana Dhamma, or the eternal world. We have marked in the previous verse that he creates and again winds up the creation. This action is applicable only in the material world, because the other greater part of his creation, namely the Vaikuntha world, is neither created nor annihilated. Otherwise, the Vaikuntha Dham would not have been called eternal. Sanatana Dhamma. So it is called Sanatana, means like that which doesn't have a beginning and that which doesn't have an ending also. So, but this material world has a beginning and it has an end also, right? So that's why it is not permanent. So wherever this conception or wherever this idea comes, that creation and annihilation, we should immediately know that this is not talking about the material creation, and it's nothing to do with the spiritual world, right? So the Lord exists with his Dhamma, or in other words, with his eternal name, qualities, pastime, entourage, and personality, which are all a display of his different energies and expansions. The Lord is called Anadi, or having no creator, and Adi, or the origin of all. We think in our own imperfect way that the Lord is also created, but the Vedanta informs that he is not he is not created. So this is very important thing. Whenever we tell about the Lord, immediately people ask this challenging question that, who's the creator of the Lord? Who's the source of the Lord, right? So, but then the Lord is the Adi, and he doesn't have any Adi, so he is Anadi, right? Rather, everything else is created by him. Narayanaha paro vyaktat. So therefore, for the common man, these are all very wonderful matters for consideration. Even for great scholars, they are inconceivable, and thus such scholars present theories contradictory to one another. Even for the insignificant part of his creation, this particular universe, they have no complete information as to how far the limited space extends, or how many stars and planets are there, or the different conditions of those innumerable planets. Modern scientists have insufficient knowledge of all this. Some of them assert that there are 100 million planets scattered all over space. In a news release from Moscow dated 2/21/60, 1960 it is, the following piece of knowledge was relayed. Russia's well-known professor of astronomy, Boris Vorontsov, Veleminov, I don't know like how to pronounce that, said that there must be an infinite number of planets in the universe inhabited by beings endowed with reason. It could be that life similar to that on Earth flourishes on such planets. Doctor of Chemistry Nikolai Zirov, covering the problem of atmosphere on other planets, pointed out that the organism of a martin, for instance, could very well adapt itself to normal existence with a low body temperature. He said that he felt that the gaseous composition of Martian atmosphere was quite suitable to sustain life of beings which have become adapted to it. This adaptability of an organism to different varieties of planets is described in Brahma Samhita as Vibhuti Binnam, Tad Brahmanishkalam, Anantamasesha Setu. So each and every one of the innumerable planets within the universe is endowed with a particular type of atmosphere, and the living beings there are more perfectly advanced in science and psychology because, sorry, physiology or psychology, so anything, so because of a better atmosphere. Vibhuti means specific power and Binnam means variegated. Scientists who are attempting to explore outer space and are trying to reach other planets by mechanical arrangements must know for certain that organisms adapted to the atmosphere of Earth cannot exist in the atmosphere of other planets. Easy Journey to Other Planets. No, that's a book. It is no cited here. So this is Prabhupada's book, Easy Journey to Other Planets, one of the initial books that Prabhupada wrote. In his set of books. One has to prepare himself, therefore, to be transferred to different planets after being relieved of the present body, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitru vrataha bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti mad yajinopimam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. And those who worship me will live with me. Maharaj Parikshit's statement regarding the workings of creative energy of the Lord discloses that he knew everything of the process of creation. Why then did he ask Sukadev Goswami for such information? Maharaj Parikshit, being an emperor, a descendant of Pandavas and a great devotee of Lord Krishna, was quite able to know considerably about the creation of the world, but that much knowledge was not sufficient. He said, therefore, that even greatly learned scholars fail to know about that, even after great effort. The Lord is unlimited and his activities are also unfathomed. But with a limited source of knowledge and with imperfect senses, any living being up to the standard of Brahmaji, the highest perfect living being within the universe, can never imagine knowing about the unlimited. So this is a very amazing point. The Lord is unlimited, and it is impossible. It's not almost impossible. It is completely impossible to understand the unlimited by our limited capacity, right? So that is why the only thing that remains is that we surrender unto the Lord. That's the only thing that we can actually do. So we cannot possibly understand him. We cannot possibly try to have a complete picture of the Lord. So he is unlimited. We can only have a limited realization about the Supreme Lord, right? So if we have whatever our capacity is there, if it is full, so that is sufficient. To understand Lord full is not possible. So we can know something of the unlimited when it is explained by the unlimited. as has been done by the Lord himself in the unique statement of the Bhagavad Gita. And it can also be known to some extent from realized souls like Shukadev Goswami, who learnt it from Vyasadeva, a disciple of Narada. And thus the perfect knowledge can descend by the chain of disciplic succession only, and not by any form of experimental knowledge, old or modern. Okay, so by experiments we cannot understand the Lord. Only by the mercy of the Lord, if he reveals something to us, we can understand, and that is also only something we can understand, right? So text 9, yatha gunamstu prakriter yugapat karmashopi va bibrati bhuri shastvaekha kurvan karmani janmabhihi. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one whether he alone acts with the modes of material nature, or simultaneously expands in many forms, or expands consecutively to direct the modes of nature. So here we see that the Lord is one, no, though he may have expanded into many. So that is one of the very, very important conclusions that is given by Ishopanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. So this is a very important conclusion. So the Lord always remains the same, and he doesn't get diminished. And no, it is like law of conservation. We say that everything that exists, no, any energy that is there, that is, it can be created or destroyed. It can only be like manipulated. It cannot be created or destroyed, right? So in the same way, the Lord is, there is no no there is nothing like, no, for the Lord it is temporary. No, everything is permanent in the from the Lord's perspective. So then how is the material world temporary, and it is, no, the material things are temporary? The sum total of material energy is permanent. Only the forms that the material energy manifests, that is temporary, right? So the dress that we wear, no, different dress that we wear, that is temporary, or the manifestations of the material energy is temporary, but the material energy in itself, it is permanent, right? So text 10, vichikshitam vichikshitam etan sorry vichikitsitam etan me bravitu bhagavan yada shabdhe brahmani nishnatah paras parasmimscha bhavan kalu. Kindly clear up all these doubtful inquiries, because they are not only vastly learned, because you are not only vastly learned in Vedic literatures and self-realized in transcendence, but also a great devotee of the Lord, and are therefore as good as the personality of Godhead. So here Parikshit Maharaj is putting all these questions, and then he is asking Shukadeva Goswami to answer. Why he is putting all these questions to him? Because he is a great devotee of the Lord, he is very learned, and therefore he is as good as the Supreme Lord. Okay. So in the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Govinda, the personality of Godhead, although one without a second, is infallibly expanded by innumerable forms, non-different from one another. And although he is the original person, he is still ever young with permanent youthful energy. He is very difficult to know simply by learning the transcendental science of the Vedas, but he is very easily realized by his pure devotees. The expansions of different forms of the Lord, as from Krishna to Baladev to Sankarshan, from Sankarshan to Vasudeva, and from Vasudeva to Aniruddha, and from Aniruddha to Pradyumna, and then again to the second Sankarshan, and from him the Narayana Purusha avatars, and innumerable other forms, which are compared to the constant flowing of uncountable waves of a river, are all one and the same. So this is the way the expansion happens. The first expansion of Krishna is Balaram, and from Balaram comes Sankarshana, and from Sankarshana comes the further Chaturvyuha. So that is Vasudeva, like Vasudeva, Sankarshana. Sorry, like from Balaram comes the Chaturvyuha, that is Sankarshana, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, and Vasudev. And then from the first Sankarshan comes the second Sankarshan, and from the second Sankarshan comes the Purusha avatars, no, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and no, Karanodakshaya Vishnu. So all these three Vishnus comes from the second Sankarshan, right? So in this way, like the whole, there are many innumerable Vaikuntha planets. There are many innumerable Narayana forms. All these things All these expansions of the Lord, the Swa Amsha expansions of the Lord, are mentioned here as uncountable waves of a river. How many times a river can bring about a wave, right? So it is just a slight wind, it will create a wave. Like that, innumerable forms of the Lord is there. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam, right? So there is no anta, there is no end to the uncountable forms of the Lord. The innumerable forms are there. So in India, at least, we have a conception of Dashavatar, there are only 10 forms of the Lord. No, it is not like that. So the Lord has unlimited forms. So they are like lamps of equal power which kindle from one lamp to another. This is Deeparchideva hi dashantaram abhyupetya Deepayate vivatahetu samana dharma. So this is like Lord Brahma describes this particular example of the candle. If there is an original candle and if another candle is lit by the help of this original candle, both the candles will have the equal power, but still the first one is original, right? So that is one thing. And then we also, all the time, we refer to this very important analogy of what is it? The moon and the different phases of the moon. So it is the same person. All the different incarnations of the Lord, it is all the same person, the Supreme Lord Krishna, but then he displays a certain set of qualities of his, and that makes him a different personality, or that makes him a different avatar. That's all. So if he displays all his qualities, then he is Krishna. So in that way, like we can understand from the moon example also. So that is the transcendental potency of the Lord. The Vedas say that he is so complete that even though the complete identities emanate from him, he still remains the same complete whole. Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Purnameva Visishyate. So this is Purnameva Visishyate. So Avasishyate means like what remains. This particular usage is there in Bhagavad Gita also. It says Yajna Shishta. Shishta. Yajna Shishta means like what remains in the yajna. That is the prasad. What remains after performing a yajna is the prasad. So yajna shishta shino shanta muchyante sarvakil vishay, right? Bunjante tve aham papa e pachanti atma karanat. So that which is the remnants of the yajna, so that is called the yajna shishta. So here we see that purnasya purnam adaya purnam eva avasishyate. So that means this is even if we take many complete units from this complete personality Krishna, still what remains is the complete, right? So everything that exists is complete. So it is not that in the material calculation 1 minus 1 is 0, or even 10 minus 1 is like 9. So here we see the spiritual calculation. If Lord we take as 10, and how much ever thing you minus, like he will remain the 10, and still many complete units can come out of him. So that's the spiritual mathematics or spiritual calculation. So this is a very amazing, this one. So when our basic calculations go wrong, because the basis itself is completely different. So by our material energy, how much ever we try, whatever calculations we put, we will never be able to understand the Lord, because the basis itself is different. The way to understand him itself is different. He's a completely different kind of a personality. Its material things are not sufficient enough to understand this wonderful personality, right? Okay. As such, there is no validity in the material conception of the Lord produced by mental speculator. Thus, he remains always a mystery for the mundane scholar, even if he is vastly learned in Vedic literatures. Vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atma bhaktav. Therefore, the Lord is beyond the limit of conception of the mundane, learned scholars, philosophers, or scientists. He is easily understandable for the pure devotee, because the Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita 18:54 that after surpassing the stage of knowledge, when one is able to be engaged in devotional service of the Lord, then one can know, then only can one know the true nature of the Lord. One cannot have any clear conception of the Lord or his holy name, form, attributes, pastimes, etc., unless one is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But bhakti amam abhijanati. So it's a very important thing. Only by bhakti, only by rendering devotional service to the Lord, we will be able to understand him. Jnane prayasha udapasha namantayeva. So jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya vata sthane sthito Shrutigatam Tanuvan Manobir Ye Prayase Jita Jito Apitais Trilokyam. So this is, like by jnana prayasa, by the expedition of knowledge, we will not be able to understand the Lord. That's why Brahmaji says that no, like give up this like endeavor to understand the knowledge by jnana. No, take up bhakti. No, bhakti is to chant the names of the Lord, to discuss the pastimes of the Lord, to analyze the qualities of the Lord and relish the qualities of the Lord, and taking the darshan of the Lord, and all these things are the devotional process. To be absorbed in His name, fame, pastimes, attributes, and things like that. So that is the thing which will help us. No, bhaktyamam abhijanati. No, that's the thing that can help us. The statement of Bhagavad Gita that one must first of all surrender unto the Lord, being freed from all other um, engagements, means that one must become a pure, unconditional devotee of the Lord. Only then can one know Him by the strength of devotional service. Maharaj Parikshit admitted in the previous verse that the Lord is inconceivable even for the greatest learned scholars. Why then should he again request Shukadeva Goswami to clarify his insufficient knowledge about the Lord? The reason is clear. Not only was Shukadeva Goswami vastly learnt in Vedic literatures, but he was also a great self-realized soul and a powerful devotee of the Lord. A powerful devotee of the Lord is by the grace of the Lord more than the Lord himself. Oh, this is why it is mentioned like that. So here the Lord is there with every single living entity as Paramatma, but then the devotee of the Lord, who is very powerful, he is more powerful than the Lord. He can actually deliver a living entity from the material world, but then the Lord doesn't do that job. Rarely he does that. So the Lord's devotees are very, very important. So that is why it requires a lot of devotional intelligence to understand and recognize a devotee of the Lord. Like the Kanishta Adhikaris, the very, very neophytes. What do? They just go behind the Lord. They just do the worship of the Lord and things like that and all. But then they don't give much importance to the devotees of the Lord. But then advanced devotees, they know that it is only by the mercy of a devotee I can get the Lord. I may go behind the Lord, but then I'll not be able to get Him. Right? So it is like sometimes this is used in our mundane things also. Sometimes we see that like if we want to meet a great personality or a big personality, so it is not possible sometimes to go and directly get appointment from him, or directly cut a relationship with him. But if we know somebody who is very close to him, and then he is having some interest in us, then we can go and approach him. See, like, I want to get an appointment for him from him. So, like, can you help me? So when this known person puts a word, then it happens. Directly it doesn't happen. So in the same way, here also we see that only by the grace of the Lord. It is not that this devotee is something bigger than the Lord. It is by the grace of the Lord, by the agreement of the Lord. The Lord has made himself subordinate to his devotee's mercy. Right? So this is when Ambarish Maharaj is cursed by Durvasa Muni, and then Sudarshan Chakra comes and it chases Durvasa Muni, and then Durvasa Muni goes all around the universe, and then finally comes to Lord Vishnu, and then Lord Vishnu says that, so like, I don't have any power to control this weapon. So then it's a very astonishing thing. Now, what is it that the Sudarshan Chakra is your weapon, and why are you not able to control it? Because Aham Bhakta Paradina. He says that. So Amrish Maharaj says that I am completely subordinate to my devotees, and I don't have he aswatantra ivadvija. So I don't have any swatantra. What is it? I'm not an independent person, so I'm completely controlled by my devotees. So that's what Lord Vishnu says. So in this way, we can see that the Lord, he is the all-powerful personality, but then he himself makes his devotees so qualified, or so what is so great, that he wants to portray his devotee as more greater than himself, right? So, and then he makes sure that that is always maintained. So this is the special attribute of the Lord. Right? So the personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, attempted to bridge the Indian Ocean to reach the island of Lanka, but Sri Hanumanji the unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, could cross the ocean simply by jumping over it. The Lord is so merciful upon his pure devotee that he presents his beloved devotee as more powerful than himself. The Lord expresses himself to be unable to save Durvasa Muni, although the Muni was so powerful that he could reach the Lord directly under material conditions. But Durvasa Muni was saved by Maharaj Ambarish, a devotee of the Lord. Therefore, not only is a devotee of the Lord more powerful than the Lord, but also worship of the devotee is considered more effective than direct worship of the Lord. Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadikha. So Mad Bhakta means like my devotee, puja means like to worship, and adhika, no, pujabhya adhika. So adhika means like, no, it is more like higher, like form of worship, not to worship the devotee of the Lord than to worship the Lord himself. The conclusion is, therefore, that a serious devotee must first approach a spiritual master who not only is well versed in Vedic literature, but is also a great devotee with factual realization of the Lord and his different energies. Without the help of such a devotee, spiritual master, one cannot make progress in transcendental science of the Lord. And a bona fide spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami does not speak about the Lord only in the matter of his internal potencies, but also explains how he associates with his external potencies. The Lord's pastimes in the internal potency are displayed in his activities in Vrindavan, but the workings of his external potency are directed in his features of Karanadakshayi Vishnu, Garbhadakshayi Vishnu, and Shiradakshayi Vishnu. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti offers his good counsel to the interested Vaishnavas when he says that they should not be interested in hearing only about the Lord's activities like Rasa Leela, but must be keenly interested in his pastimes, in his features of Purusha avatars in connection with the Shrishti Tattva, creational functions. Following the example of Maharaj Parikshit, the ideal disciple, and Shukadeva Goswami, the ideal spiritual master. Right? So in this way, like, we should not only be interested in knowing the various leelas of the Lord in terms of know his association with other devotees, and especially the Rasa Leela pastimes and things like that. We should also be very much interested in hearing about the creational activities, no, Shrishti Tattva. So how, no, every activity of the Lord is wonderful, no, and it has to be understood. And specifically for the conditioned souls, the material nature, how it works and how the Lord has put it into action is a very important thing. So if this is known, then we will be safe. No, we will not think when we touch upon the spiritual subjects, we will not look those spiritual subjects with a material vision, because already the material vision is clearly explained and we know what is matter. So then we can clearly differentiate between matter and spirit. And also right now we are completely dealing with matter and our consciousness is filled with matter. And for us to understand how this matter is connected to Krishna is the easiest way to connect with Krishna, rather than going to the esoteric pastimes of the Lord, which are all performed on the spiritual plane, and we don't have access to that plane, and we will deduce those pastimes as to be some material activities, and then we will try to understand those pastimes. We will bring down the pastimes to our level and we will try to understand, and that is a big mess in the whole thing. So we should not do that. So we should try to see that how the matter is connected to Krishna. If we understand this, gradually our senses will become purified, and then everything is there. Definitely we have to go through all the other portions of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will be able to go through that once our senses become nicely purified, and then we will be able to get to every single aspects of Krishna. Right? So text 11, Suta Uvacha iti upa mantrito rajna gunanukatane hare rishikesham manusmritya prativaktum prachakrame. Suta Goswami said, when Shukadeva Goswami was thus requested by king to describe the creative energy of the personality of Godhead, he then systematically remembered the master of the senses, Sri Krishna, and to reply properly, he spoke thus. So it's a very important thing. When this question was put before Shukadeva Goswami, Shukadeva Goswami's response is not that, oh, this matter, no, I know about this. No, I'll let you know. I'll just teach you. No, come here. So it's not like that. No, what is he doing? He is meditating on Krishna. And this is how a pure devotee actually functions. He is not thinking that I know something and I will deliver. He all the time he consults the Lord, he meditates upon the Lord, and then he is all the time expecting at this point in time, what does the Lord want me to speak? What does the Lord want me to act upon? No, what does he want? No, that's a very important thing. And all the time their consciousness is fully fixed in Krishna. And here when the question is put, immediately first thing that comes to him is that he meditates upon the Lord, and then he starts speaking, right? So purport: the devotee of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord, and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments. No, karana means instruments. The senses are instruments, and elements are ingredients, all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. Right? So, without the sanction of the Lord, not even a blade of grass can move. And what to speak of that? No, like when it is that, so then what to speak of our actions, our speech, and our activities, and things like that? Everything is perfectly controlled by the Lord. Right? So, in the liberated stage, no, we desire something, and then the Lord sanctions. We desire according to the desire of the Lord, and then the Lord sanctions. In the conditioned state, we desire something against the will of the Lord, and the Lord sanctions according to our karma eligibility. Right? So that's how the Lord sanctions. But whatever it may be, without the sanction of the Lord, nothing can happen. The Bhagavad Gita 15:15 confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. No one is free to act freely and independently. No. So matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. That means knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness is given by the Lord. That means I cannot act independently. I am completely controlled by the Lord. Right? And as such, one should always seek the permission of the Lord to act or to eat or speak. So this is a very important thing for acting. Like if I want to do a particular action, so we should meditate upon the Lord and pray to the Lord. I'm like right now this particular task is there in front of me. I am about to do this. My Lord, if you want it to happen, so you make it happen. Otherwise, whatever you wish, you make it happen. So just thinking about the Lord in that way, that's a very important thing. So I'm just going to do something. May it have your grace, upon that. So, and then eating. All of us, like before eating, we should actually offer prayers to the Lord. Right? So Sarira Vidyajal. So this actually reminds me of this thing, Mahaprasade Govinde. Many people like have a wrong understanding of this meaning. So what is this meaning of this shloka? Mahaprasade, Govinde, and Nama Brahmani. These are three very important things. The Mahaprasad of the Lord, and then Govinda, or the Supreme Lord himself, and then Nama Brahma. Nama Brahma means like the holy name of the Lord. Brahman means the Supreme Lord, and Nama Brahma means like it is the holy name of the Lord. And then Dravya Brahma is Dravya Brahma means like liquid Brahman is Ganges. And then we have many this one is there. And Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. So there the Brahma refers to the Vedic literatures. So in this way, like all that thing which are directly connected to the Lord are called as Brahman. And then here, like the holy name is called as Brahman. So the Nama Brahma, so that is non-different from the Lord. So Mahaprasade, Govinde, Nama Brahmani, and Vaishnave. This is like on devotees of the Lord. These four things, Mahaprasade, Govinde, Nama Brahmani, Vaishnave, Swalpa Punya Vatam Rajan, Vishwasha Naiva Jayate. So, for a person who's having very, very meager pious credits, that means very negligible pious credits, he cannot have faith. Vishwasha, like what is that? Mahaprasade Govinde, Nama Brahmani, Vaishnave, Swalpa Punya, Vatam Rajan, Vishwasha naiva jayate. Like, no, he cannot get faith in these four things at all. If his punya is very, very small, right? So if it is negligible. So that is why, where we pray this particular prayer before before honoring our prasad. So like somehow or other, by great fortune, I am able to eat the prasad of the Lord. I'm able to offer something. I'm able to cook something that's a service to the Lord. I'm able to offer something to the Lord, and I'm able to eat the prasadam of the Lord. It's so very fortunate thing in our life, right? So we are fortunate, at least 2 times or 3 times a day, every single day, just by honoring prasad, right? So in this way, we can see that we can actually have this one. At least I have some punya that I am able to get this prasad of the Lord, right? So we should be very grateful. We should remember the Lord, before having the prasadam. And then we have another prayer also, Sarira Vidyajal. So sometime else, like we can discuss about that. So basic thing that is mentioned here is, before we act, before we eat, and before we speak, all the sessions we start speaking, saying that Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. So first we are offering obeisances to the spiritual master. Then after that we offer obeisances to all the various spiritual masters, and then the associates of Lord Chaitanya and the Lord Chaitanya, and then associates of Lord Krishna, and then Krishna himself. And then we get to like all the personalities in our parampara. We remember them and we pray to them, and then we start speaking. So this is the way of speech. Speech has to be preceded with this auspicious invocations, with the remembrance of the Lord. So that is very nicely demonstrated by Shukadev Goswami here. Immediately after Parikshit Maharaj asked the question, so he is speaking something in glorification of the Lord, or he is remembering the Lord, and then he starts speaking, right? So okay, no one is free to act freely and independently, and as such one should always seek permission of the Lord to act, eat, or speak. And by the blessings of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of four defects, that is Brahma, Pramada, Vipralipsa, and Karanapatava. So that is like what is it, tendency to become illusion, tendency to commit mistake, and then cheating propensity, and then imperfect senses. These four things, these defects, these are all called the material defects. And if we pray to the Lord, if we remember the Lord, and then if we speak those things which are mentioned by the Lord, or direct people based on the teachings of the Lord and the spiritual master, and if we do actions in this way, so then all our actions, all our speech, all that we eat will be freed from these four defects. And today morning especially, like I was hearing Srila Prabhupada's lecture, and he was very nicely putting it in terms of infection. Like now Corona infection is going on, so we can very nicely kind of relate this thing. Srila Prabhupada is speaking this in the first canto, 5th chapter, some slokas. He is mentioning this right now. I am hearing those section. So there he was mentioning that how the karma means, like whatever karma comes to us, like sinful reactions, it is all misery. Why misery comes? Like misery in itself is not a problem, the karma itself is not a problem. Why the karma has come? Because of infection. Like now, for example, somebody is like having breathlessness and fever and things like that, then they say, oh, Corona has come. So then like everybody, what they are worried about, they should not get the infection. If infection you get, then all other things will follow, right? So in the same way, if we associate with the three modes of nature, so that is the infectious thing. And if we associate with the three modes of nature, immediately the pain in the form of karma will come. And then Prabhupada was mentioning nicely that if you eat prasadam, if you hear Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, which are in connection with the Lord, we will get infected with the virus of spiritual things, and then we will become purified. And that also has an effect in us, and that infection produces some nice effect in the body, right? So I don't know, like it is not that we are not free from bacteria and virus. So we want to be free from bad bacteria and bad viruses. There are many good bacteria that live in the body and that assist in the process of the body, right? So even in the bacteria, there are good and bad is there. Even in infection of diseases and things like that, there is good and bad is there. So in the same way, the material modes of nature is bad, and everything that is connected to Krishna is good, right? So three modes of nature is infection, and that creates pain to us. and then the this one, the spiritual things like Mahaprasad, then the process of Shravanam, the process of chanting the names of the Lord, the process of serving the Vaishnavas, no, the process of all these devotional services, no, they give us a positive infection. No, that positive infection can keep us completely immune, right? So that's a very wonderful thing. No, I just heard. So when I saw this 4 defects, know how we can be freed from. So if we want to be freed from the negative infection, then we have to be infected positively, right? So that is when we can be freed. So if we are there in 3 modes of nature, then we have to get karma. So there is no possibility of avoiding it. Okay, so now we are entering into a very nice set of slokas. No, this is no really nice glorifications of the Lord. No, possibly like no, I am thinking to memorize some of them. One of these slokas I know, but then other slokas I want to memorize. It's a very, very nice set of slokas, so we can try to go through them. So text 12, Shri Shuka Uvacha Nama Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase Sad Udbhava Sthana Nirodha Leelaya Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam Antar Bhavayano Palaksha Vartmane. Shukadeva Goswami is starting to speak. This is the second speech that Shukadeva Goswami is giving. First is, the question is asked in the end of first canto of Bhagavatam, and that answer continued for first, second, third chapters. And then now we see that again Parikshit Maharaj is asking another question, and Shukadeva Goswami is starting the answer for the second time, right? So let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the 3 modes of nature. He is complete, whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable, right? So very nice, this one. No, he's offering his obeisances to the Lord, and then know who for the creation of the material world accepts the 3 modes of nature. So no, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So why it is mentioned like this? Because Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, so or Brahma, Vishnu and Lord Shiva is considered to be no guna avatars of the Lord. No, that's why it is mentioned here. No, he accepts the 3 modes of nature. No, he accepts the charge of this 3 modes of nature, and he is complete, whole, residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable, right? So he is complete as a complete entity. That is why we call it as plenary expansion. Paramatma as a plenary expansion. Plenary expansion means a complete form of the Lord. It is not that key like the Lord is half form of the Lord or incomplete form of the Lord. No, plenary expansion means complete form of the Lord. No, so in generally in the meetings and places like that, so when they have multiple small groups of meetings, so then they call the meeting that happens amongst everyone, like all the groups combined together, they call it as plenary, right? So that's the word that is used here. So plenary expansions of the Lord means the complete expansion of the Lord, right? So now we see his ways are inconceivable, like how he will act, it's inconceivable. So we can keep asking, like Arjuna asked in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Karpanya dosha pahato swabhavaha pruchami tvam dharma sammuda chetah, yashreyashan nishchitam bruhitan me. So this is a question all the time we also have. No, please tell me for sure. No, nishchitam bruhitan me. Like, no, please tell me conclusively what is to be done. No, or like what is the truth. So, but then the Lord says, like, you see, no, I cannot give you all the information right now in one shot. I am an inconceivable person. I'll keep revealing only things, face by face. No, you just simply have to be dependent on me, and I'll keep revealing things. No, next step where you have to keep that much, you will get to know. No, beyond that, it is very difficult to know. So that is why, one very important thing Bhishma Dev tells is that give up the plan making business. How much you will make plans about this world, where the Lord is inconceivable, the material nature is inconceivable, everything around is inconceivable. What is the use of thinking about the future and simply wasting time, right? So we have to be conscious in the present, and we have to make some plans for the future, but then it should be a the small plan making, that's all. Most of the time we should invest on the present tense. This is one biggest problem. In the name of future and the past, our present tense is always robbed off, and that is why we are always found to be seen in mode of ignorance or in mode of passion. No, that's why like we keep wavering in this whole thing. So if we can actually be situated in the mode of goodness, if we can actually plug into mode of goodness and be in the consciousness of present, that's a very nice thing, that we can actually achieve. So we have less time. Okay, this is a small shloka, we can read that. Purport: this material world is a manifestation of the three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into the body of material created, body of materially created. So both atoms and the living entities, no bodies. No, he enters as Paramatma. And as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, no, he enters into every universe. And as Shiradaksha Vishnu, he enters into the body of every living being. So here we see this is the three Paramatma Tattva. So Paramatma is like, no, it's not, it's in the three phases, the Lord is actually acting as Paramatma. Now, first is what? No, he enters into every body materially created. So that is the Karanadaksha Vishnu. No. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu enters into the universe, and then Shirodakshaya Vishnu enters the body of every living being. And so the first definition and the last definition is one and the same. So the Mahavishnu or the Karanadaksha Vishnu is the Paramatma of the entire material creation. And then each and every universe, the Paramatma of each and every universe is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And the Paramatma of every single living entity is Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So the Vishnu is there. That is why we sing in the Narsimha prayers that Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. So that's not that he is there in this level and he is not in the next level. He is there in every single level. There is no level. There is no plane in which the Paramatma is absent. Every level the Lord is there. So sometimes, like if we have a macro picture, we will not be able to have the micro picture. So people put small managers to handle the day-to-day activities, and then they have the big business information and they sit on the top and they manage things. But then for Lord, he knows the micro details and he knows the macro details, because he's personally present in every level. He is not just present in the high top level and things like that. He's personally present at every level, right? And Lord Sri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed as the Parapuman or the Purushottama, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So he's the Paramatma of all Paramatmas, that is the Supreme Lord's form. So he is the complete whole. The Purushavatars, whenever this word Purushaavatar comes, it is about the three Vishnus, like Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. So these three Vishnus are put together called as Purushavatars. The Purushavatars are therefore his plenary expansions, his complete expansions. And Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him, because the emphoric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive the personality of Godhead. He is called Anuplaksha, Anupalaksha, Anupalaksha, Anupalaksha Vartpane, the Lord of inconceivable way, or he is not possible to be understood by any other method. Only by Bhakti Yoga, he can actually be understood. So we will stop here, and then we will continue tomorrow back again. So this is all very, very wonderful set of slokas, which is a nice glorification of the Lord. And most of the slokas will end by Prabha Vishnuve Namaha, like that. It's a very nice set of stuti. We can actually memorize this from 12th sloka onwards. We can try to memorize them, and it is really very nice to remember these set of slokas, right? So thank you very much for participating. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.